Delvin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Our pleasure.
We're live here at Vegan Camp House, as you can kind of see in the camper van. I mean, your career has been kind of amazing. As you said, you started out in living in vans for 10 years and looking at free energy. And I read your book, all about, and I was fascinated by going to Glastonbury and having that kind of light bulb moment. Well, I mean, looking back at kind of everything that you've done, what's kind of been the most thing that you're proudest of, I suppose?
Well, there's a question that I occasionally bump into. And I have to say that I'm not proud of anything. I genuinely don't feel pride about anything. There are things that excite me. There are things that I'm pleased about. Mostly I look forwards, not backwards, because there's so much that needs to be done.
Yeah.
You know, it's my nature not to feel pride and sort of look forwards and stay very, very busy and trying to do as much as I can to make things better. That's how I live.
Interesting. You've worked with Labour, historically kind of speaking to them in terms of what they should be doing. And we've seen now they've been in power for a year. How are you kind of feeling? Because I know I was speaking to Chris Packham a year ago and we both had a kind of general sense of optimism about it. But a year on, how do you feel about this?
I think it's a mixed bag, like any government or anything that you might be a part of, you support or something like that. Where we should never have expected to get everything that we wanted. And of course, the Labour Party themselves, the government themselves have bumped into reality.
Yeah.
The right-wing press were against them from day one. I mean, literally, the day after the election, they were saying that, we'd ruined the country.
Yes.
Well, give them a chance to ruin the country. Yeah. And their inheritance, of course, from 15 years of Tory rule was diabolical. And we're only 1 year in now, and still wrestling with the black holes and that kind of stuff. The legacy of immigration, which ironically the Tories and other right-wing parties are whipping up, but it was a Tory phenomena, happened on their watch. And post-Brexit, that's the other irony. Farage makes much of immigration, but it doubled as a result of Brexit, which he claimed would give us the chance to take back control of our borders. It doubled. Mm-hmm. And now he bangs on about immigration like it's somebody else's fault, not a man that actually campaigned for Brexit.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the man who, after Brexit, moved off to Germany anyway. With this, can't take him on because look at him on face value. Look at what his actions are.
No, that's right. And right now he's campaigning for what I call Nexit. I don't know if it's going to catch on as a term, but he's arguing for us to turn our backs on net zero and in effect the green economy. And Brexit was a financial disaster. There's no doubt about that, as some people said it would be. And Nexit will be just bigger than that because the green economy is the future of the world and the economic opportunity of this century and probably of human history, actually. If we turn our backs on it and do as he wishes, or he says he wishes, I think actually his position is only one of convenience. He thinks it's a route to power. So he's created a populist cause around net zero being a bad thing, the green economy, therefore, being a bad thing and that kind of stuff. And that's what he did with Brexit. So in that respect, he's a one-trick pony, attempting a comeback, a kind of a second act. And I think that's pretty bad.
Yeah, agreed. In terms of your position, because obviously you've got a platform that a lot of people don't, and in terms of the green economy, is there anything that you're kind of striving towards to kind of counter this?
I think, firstly, we have to counter the false claims that green energy costs more, that the green economy is something we can't afford, and that kind of stuff. And we've got to do that with the economic realities of green energy, of the green economy. There are twice as many people working now in green energy than there are in the fossil fuel sector. Yet all we hear about is the threat to the jobs in the North Sea, which is in decline. It's got 10 years left, just 10% of its original capacity. And so it's a dying industry. But the fuss being made of it, you would think it was this enormous opportunity for us, and we're turning our backs on it at our own cost. So there's a lot of false information, firstly, that we have to counter. And then secondly, we have to make sure that we get as close to 100% green energy on the grid as we can by 2030. That's a Labour target. But much more importantly, we've got to bring energy bills down. It was a pre-election promise by Labour. The right-wing press are beating them around their heads with it now. Energy bills went up this week. Ofgem announced it. It won't take place until October. But they went up by 60 pence a week, right? But the headlines all around Britain, you'd think something major had happened. 60 pence a week. Like, come on. In July, they went down by £3 a week.
Okay. Yeah.
So the net position is like, nearly £2.50 better off in the last 6 months. But you don't see that in the news. It's super important that Labour gets energy bills down because it's being weaponized against them. And to do that, they've got to be bold and do some reform with the small r of the energy market. And we've proposed 3 different ways they can do that. Quite simple stuff. I've been an energy person for 30 years, an industry person. So we know how the energy market works. We found these problems with it, and that's what we need to do. Break the link between the price of fossil fuel gas and the price of the wind and sun, because bizarrely, we allow the price of gas to set the price of the things that we make here, energy from the wind and the sun. And it's costing us billions of pounds a year. So that's one thing. I mean, this other stuff gets more complicated.
No, that's very interesting. I mean, I remember I was reading an article a few months ago where you were talking about the power of the consumer, and that people have completely kind of, well, it's probably part of what the political system's been doing to us, is that people don't realise the own power that an individual can have in terms of where they spend their money.
Yeah, and that's probably my big picture message. If you don't dial back out, for me, it's about energy, transport, and food. 3 sectors of life within which you find 80% of all of our carbon emissions as people, as companies, as entire countries. It's about how we power ourselves, how we travel, what we eat is actually the biggest issue right now. The biggest of those is also the one that we can all address the most quickly and cost effectively. It should cost us nothing to stop eating meat and dairy. It's better for our health. It's the biggest change we can all make to the climate crisis and the wildlife crisis that many people seem oblivious to. This 6th mass extinction that's happening on the planet due to our diets. We're literally eating nature to extinction. And to your point, we spend money every day on all of these 3 things, how we power our homes, how we travel, and what we eat. And we have the most enormous amount of power over businesses that make their living out of our choices. They are very much in tune with what it is we want. Greggs are a fabulous example. They introduced a vegan sausage roll a few years ago. It went crazy. And so they responded with vegan this and vegan that. And, businesses respond very quickly. Politicians tend to respond a little bit more slowly. But the power of our spending decides which way the world goes round.
No, that's a really good point. It's you can see with the meat and dairy industries, for the first time, their advertising is no longer about just promoting their products. They're actually starting to attack vegan products. And I think, oh, okay, what's that about? And then you look into it and you realise, okay, 1 in 3 households have moved to oat milk, which is huge from, say, 10 years ago. And so there is that power of, that is coming from the consumer, right? Even meat eaters, dairy eaters.
Yeah, and the big cheese brands are making vegan cheese.
Yeah.
That's a sign.
One can feed your sussy to this, despite all the shit they're pumping into the rivers, which, it's...
It's a sign, and it's important. And in a way, it's important that these big businesses have a transition. They can see a future for themselves, and because they can be part of the answer that, they're in existence, they're part of the supply chain, they're present in the supermarkets. All they have to do is change what they make. And it's in front of us, it's available to people. They make it easy for us. With the oil and gas industry, it's difficult to see there's an actual transition for that. You just need to try it down. But properly over the next 10 years. But with food companies, for example, not so much animal farmers, of course. We just need to shut that down. But cheese companies are great. Because I did a talk for a big European dairy company a few months ago. And they asked me at the end, it was like an employee gathering together for me to talk to them. They said, what would you recommend we do? I said, give up what you're doing. Stop dairy and start with alternative milks and cheeses and yogurts and stuff like that. It went down actually quite well.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of like the vegan foods market, I mean, again, I ignore the media and what they say about it. In terms of like an investment for people, is this a good area, would you say, for people to kind of look at what's kind of coming next or invest in those cheeses that are kind of aping the dairy cheeses?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm nobody's investment advisor because probably that's not even a problem. But I don't care about money, so I don't care about things in that way. But I do care about outcomes, and we need more people to make more alternative things for sure, because that produces the outcome that we need. We only have to do 2 things. We have to stop burning fossil fuels and stop farming animals. We do those 2. We solve the climate crisis, the wildlife crisis, and the human health crisis that's reaching pandemic levels. And how we get there, I think, is a mixed bag. There'll be new startup companies. There'll be old companies switching their business model and stuff like that. And I say you're in the modern era.
Brilliant. In terms of your talk today that you're going to be giving, what are the kind of topics that you'll be discussing?
I don't actually know. I'm not suggesting anything.
Are you going to wing it on the?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you don't feel you're okay with that?
I'm fine.
No fear?
No.
Oh my God.
No. And the part I'm most looking forward to is the Q&A, because I love the conversation with the audience, because that way, when you're talking, you're talking about something somebody wants to hear about.
Yeah.
I like that the most.
That's great. I mean, you've been doing this, you're somebody who a lot of vegans look up to, and who they, whether you like that or not, it's true.
Yeah.
And
I can live with it.
yeah, that could be worse. But you've done so many different ventures, and it's great that you're looking forward. But what is coming next for you? What have you got kind of planned over the next 12 months?
I like that question, because we're about something really exciting. And I'll just rewind a minute before I get to it. So in all of my years of arguing about diet, the fallback position of the carnivore side is quite often, yes, but we can't eat grass, right? So we stick animals on it so that we can eat animals. I mean, the truth is, if it's a grassy hill, we need to leave it alone, let nature have it, not use every scrap of land for animal farming. That's different problem. So what we're about at the moment is turning grass into human edible food, and we've cracked it in the lab. We've found that grass is a superfood. It's an abundance. It is abundant in protein, in minerals, in vitamins, in omega oils. It's just incredible. It's a proper superfood. Cows have been keeping it secret from us. So we are going for FSA approval of this new form of food. Think of it like soya extract or wheat extract that we can add into foods like burgers, pies, and that kind of stuff. Grass extract, grass is food for humans. And it gets more exciting because at the moment, we grow 100 million tons of grass in our country just to feed to animals, to then feed to humans, who will know that we get diminishing returns from that. With that same amount of grass, we can make enough protein to feed our entire country twice over.
Wow.
Every year, twice over. We already grow it. We just got to repurpose it and do something different with it. And I think also that it's going to be a fraction of the price of soya protein, so that we can turn the current market economics on their head, whereby plant-based products should be cheaper than meat-based products, but they're premium price, then that's a problem. But I think we can absolutely undercut the meat-based alternative and make this an economic choice, like we have with green energy. It's now an economic choice. Electric cars are now an economic choice. If we do that, then we start to win big time.
How on earth did you strike upon grass as a kind of source of, how did that happen?
Honestly, I don't know, but I think it's like over a period of time, aware that people say, oh, we can't eat grass. I'm like, no, that's a good point. We can't eat grass. But also the fact we don't need to use every scrap of the land. And I guess by looking around, we extract protein from wheat and from soya and stuff like that. And I just, well, why can't we extract grass? We've been using grass to make gas for a little while, so we also had that kind of entry to understanding the world of farming for grass. And we use it as also a way to create habitats. We don't use pesticides or fertilizers. I'm using indigenous, I say indigenous, well, it is mix of grasses and herbalays and stuff like that. It grows about to my head height and looks like a jungle when it's mature, and it's a great habitat during that period. And then we make gas from it, but our new technology will allow us to make food and energy from the same piece of land for the first time ever in human history.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
That's a huge turning point in history when this is approved.
Yeah, because one of the issues we face, of course, is resource constraint, land constraint, that kind of stuff. And there are false arguments in the right-wing press now that solar panels are interfering with food production, which they're not, of course, but grow grass and make energy and make food more efficiently than a cow. We get twice as much protein from an area of grass far away than a cow can.
Interesting. And in terms of people knowing about this, is this just kind of, is this entirely from you and the people you've been working with? Or interesting. Wow, this is going to really change everything.
It's very exciting.
I mean, the cynical side of me is terrified because you've got like billionaires like Bill Gates buying up land masses everywhere, right? And you just think, oh God, now is land going to be even more commodified in terms of ownership?
It's already farmed.
Yeah, true.
So that doesn't change. Grass is already grown. That doesn't have to change either. We just change what you do with it.
It's incredible. How long have you been working on this?
I think it's a couple of years now. And we've got a product coming out of the lab that we get approval to eat ourselves in September. It's called informed consent so that we can start putting it into products and taste testing it and texture testing it and that kind of stuff. And then probably another 18 months before we've got approval to sell it to the public.
That's actually incredible. Yeah, I think that's going to change everything. Wow. So anything else? What else? I'm lazy.
Well, we do make diamonds from atmospheric carbon already. And I don't know if everybody knows that, but that's something we've been doing for a few years now, to about 7 years of R&D. We just take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, turn it into diamonds. But the new front there is diamonds for quantum computing. And these are really exciting technologies. What these diamonds are called quantum sensors, and they manipulate them at the molecular level. They're not very big things, but they have these properties, hypersensitivity to magnetism or all kinds of other things. And it's a new frontier. We hear a lot about AI. We aren't hearing a lot about quantum sensing at the moment, but our government gets it. And globally, there's going to be a huge demand for it. We are making them in our country, and our supply chain is entirely within our country, which is good for us because global supply chains have never been under threat more than they are right now with tariff wars and all this kind of stuff.
Interesting. In terms of AI as well, they're building all these factories and they're talking about the kind of environmental impact of artificial intelligence, just using things like ChatGPT and the amount of energy used. So is this going to be able to kind of counter that, or is it completely separate?
Yeah, something very different. So, for example, you'd be able to navigate with your phone with no GPS signal.
Okay.
So the satellites that currently kind of help us navigate the world, which the Americans interfere with, which the Iranians jam from time to time, and the Russians and stuff like that, they'll become obsolete because in your phone, you'll have something that will tell you exactly where you are in the world, wherever you are.
Interesting. Gosh, you've got a different kind of view of what things, what could the possibility of the future than the kind of narrative that we're fed at the moment, which is fear-mongering around job scarcity.
Yeah, and cost, net zero. And the pointlessness of net zero, that's almost the most dangerous argument.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Interesting. How do we get this out there? How can we kind of push this so that people don't completely give up hope before?
Oh, I don't know.
That's the bigger question. Keep communicating.
Share knowledge, and we've got social media on our side. I know that it's also a bad thing, but it's a good thing as well, because before social media, all we have is media. Most of our media was owned by rich foreigners, actually, people that live in tax havens and stuff like that. If you look at British right-wing media, that's an absolute fact. And they control the agenda, the national conversation. We've got social media now.
Yeah, it's true. And you can see that at the moment in terms of the news, the kind of narrative that's being forced, and then the actual footage of it's coming out in different places in the world.
I mean, this one is the most relevant, I think, to Viva, to your work at Viva, to this event, the vegan campfire. Our desperate need to change our diets, which are not they're not ancient. And this is a misunderstanding people have. They say, oh yeah, but we've always eaten like this. No, we haven't. If you look back only to the end of the Second World War, we had very different diets. And what we've seen is the rise of industrial agriculture since then. Alongside that, the rise of climate crisis, the decline of wildlife, and the rise in human health crises. So it's a modern diet. It's driven by big food and the big lies. It's not even cheap for us, let alone not good for us or the planet or the wildlife. I mean, it's an incredible conspiracy in a way, you might think, that we have to break.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even after, like you say, after the Second World War, before the kind of introduction of the fast food chains and the convenience, which is...
And pesticides and industrial fertilizers. These all came about after the Second World War. We were a nation starved of food, traumatized by hunger. And so you can understand why we turned to this new thing, industrial agriculture, start pulling out hedges, creating huge fields, laying waste to them with chemicals. And then, of course, off the back of that, we had processed food, and now we have ultra-processed food. And the more the food industry does to these ingredients, the more they can charge for it. They don't want simple food, but what we really need is simple food.
It's going back to basics. There is a huge movement at the moment and a huge drive for people. I mean, I'm discussing with my girlfriend, when we wanted to get a garden so we can actually grow our own vegetables. It just seems like common sense.
Yeah.
And, when Monsanto bought out Walmart years and years ago, and I was like, oh, they own Asda, that can't be good. That was a long time. I'm not sure that's still the case. I don't think it is. But going back to kind of basics, you've got the kind of rise of people with waiting lists for allotments. So while there's kind of one sort of hyper and fixation with these zero farms, and on the other hand, you've got people who are kind of going, actually, no, I want to return
background and
Yeah, simpler.
simple ingredients, cook my own food.
Good food that hasn't got shit in it, just that you can, yeah.
Problem is, a lot of people in our country struggle day to day just to feed themselves, just to get to work, and all of that kind of stuff. And they haven't got time to buy ingredients on cook, let alone grow vegetables and stuff like that. Even if they had access, which most people in the city don't have access to, some land to grow something. So we're facing a kind of structural problem there.
That's true. I mean, yeah, there's been a rise of like business like Riverford and things that can kind of do that. But
Delivery of experts.
yeah, but it's still, for people who don't have a lot of money, it's still out of their price point, unfortunately. So it's,
and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
We do subsidize the animal agriculture industry, and we shouldn't allow the food processors to make this rubbish and feed it to us. We should control them all. Salt, fat, sugar, the three big ingredients of the industry, and they drown our taste buds in sensations. Once we've had them, we just want them again. And so we go down that path. And, something like a carrot, which I think tastes fantastic, to somebody on a high processed food diet, it's going to be wrong. It's a bit bland. And actually some carrots are, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So we have a real problem. But I think we aren't regulating the food industry properly. We should. There's a sugar tax now on fizzy drinks for kids, and it's made a really big difference.
Yeah.
It really has. And so we can see the way it's worked already in Mexico in a far bigger way than it has here. We know what we have to do. Tax the bad ingredients, bring down the levels that are allowable, put health warnings on food. Bacon is a class 1 carcinogen alongside tobacco, right? One of them is behind a shuttered door in a nameless packet covered in hideous pictures of diseased organs, right? And the other one sits in a supermarket fridge or freezer. It might have a face of a smiling pig on it or something. Yeah. And it just says, well, I'm all right. You can have me.
Insanity.
Why?
They've changed it in Switzerland. Have you heard about this? Where they've got to now list if there's tail docking, or if they have to list all of the kind of processes, because people are so removed from what they're eating. It's crazy, isn't it? So it's a good step.
Health warnings, government have to take that seriously, because the science is clear. Bacon and tobacco. Science is clear. One has a health warning. I mean, it's been a stricter check now, actually. Still people smoke, and that's fine. But we should be telling people that are unwittingly eating bacon. I think BBC did something, and they said, I forget how many bits of bacon we had to eat a week. Maybe it was one bacon sandwich was equivalent to 4 cigarettes. Wow. So the BBC did that. It's like,
yeah, it's hard though. We're up against these industries that are so, like you say, so heavily subsided. I mean, it's 24.4 billion, I think, the meat industry in 2024 was valued at. It's
valued at money.
Yeah, and it's, these are huge numbers. It's
powerful lobby too.
Yeah, very powerful. But like you say, exposing the fact that it's a carcinogenic and people understanding that. And, this is like cancer. This is causing cancer. It's interesting. So thank you very much for chatting to me, Dale. That was really, I had no idea that that's what you had in development. It's kind of that's going to be really, really interesting to see when that
I can't wait.
Comes out. Well, thank you so much.
Real pleasure.
Thank you.